Hi, y'all. It's Chris, Bama Law. I'm back, your licensed Alabama attorney, to dissect the bullcrapness of the law. And I've made it back, although I've lost half my hearing in my left ear. Um, yeah, it sucks. Was sick almost 6 weeks. I know every time I was on here, I was either hacking or something. It was the worst. It's community acquired pneumonia. I've had a vaccine for it, so I didn't get that part. My wife and kid did. Um, Everything was mostly in my head, horribly, and it was pretty bad. I've got, well, I usually have ventilation tubes in my ears like kids get, because I have bad sinus issues, whatever. But now I've only got one. Um, the stuff in my head got so bad that I sneezed and it blew the left one out. Second time in less than a month. And yes, when you go back in, you do not get put to sleep. They put phenol drops, which is a chemical they use to make plastics, believe it or not, but it causes complete numbness. And they take it and they just cut your eardrum, put the tube back in, you're done. It literally takes a few seconds, but so I get to do that on the 7th. So I've had that. I literally had snot come out of my ears when I would blow my nose. It's the grossest shit I have ever. I mean, I say that, and I'm using the word shit because I don't know another word. Um, I've never seen people cough up. It looked like my wife had tuberculosis or something. It was just horrible, horrible. Whatever this is going around, and of course they never test it. They just, oh, must be community acquired pneumonia. Oh, must be that. Well, there's only a few bacterias it could be: streptococcal, um, Klebsiella, which is a pretty bad one, and my favorite is the lung clap. I can't make it up. Chlamydia pneumoniae. Chlamydia. That chlamydia. That one. Except it's not there. It's in your lungs. Don't know. It's horrible. Anyway, I thought at least I'd do something to keep the algorithm going. And my decision has been, instead of doing anything else, I kind of like to do this rapper Lil Durk. It's really I don't know what it is with the rap industry or the hip hop guys. I just don't get it. It's, it's kind of like, who can kill whom quicker? I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, you just don't see that even in heavy metal back in the 80s. They might kill themselves with heroin. That was possible, but not like this. This is insane, and they're not very smart when they do it. In fact, they're retarded. It's kind of like robbing a store with a pink Lamborghini. Oh yeah, you're never going to get caught. They got caught. Maybe he didn't do it. I don't know. Maybe he didn't do it. So, let's go over his charges, shall we? Um, let me see if I can get to this tab. View tab. Thank you. A Grammy Award winning. Is he a Grammy Award winning? Really? Boy, they have really lowered the bar. Wow. Okay. Grammy Award winning Chicago rapper has been charged with a supersedis indictment, federal indictment, alleging conspired with others to murder a rival rapper, resulting in the shooting death of the rival's relative. Oh, God, they didn't even kill the right guy. That's awesome. Okay. That occurred at a gas station near the Beverly Center shopping mall in LA in August of 2022, the Justice Department announced today. This is back on November 8th. Dirk Banks, age 32, aka Lil Durk, Blood, Mustafa Abdul Malak. That's going to be the Arab word for king, Melech in Hebrew. So it's got to be what that one is. So he's saying he's a king? I don't know. Chicago is charged with one count of conspiracy, one count of use of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire, resulting in a death. I'm guessing that's hell is interstate facilities. I mean, I've heard of ketchup being used to get jurisdiction, but what the hell is a facility? I guess the airport. I mean, I can see flight. I can see flight being a federal charge. You know, you murder someone in California and fly back or run out of state to avoid. I can see that getting a jurisdiction for the feds. But what a bizarre It's just bizarre. Okay. There's a federal offense for everything. Back in, I think it's 1937, I believe, we had no um, we had no criminal statutes really for federal jurisdiction for just crime. Um, Before that, the Congress had tried to do so. Let me rephrase that. The government had tried to bring charges of people under common law, and it was never allowed to work under the appeals courts. The appellate courts had always said, look, the federal government under the Constitution has no criminal jurisdiction by common law. None. That's a state issue. So in 37, they started the criminal code and they started doing statutory crap. Yeah, I mean, you had other things like before that, like income tax, um, the National Firearms Act. That's a tax issue. It's all tax stuff usually. I'm not aware of any, and I think if you just do a Google search, you'll find. I think it was 1937. I could be wrong on the date, but that's when the statutory code began. And now you know how large it is. Covers everything. If you take a crap in a public facility at a, a park, a national park, you're under jurisdiction, criminal jurisdiction. You better do it in a toilet. All right, so uh, let's see. One count of using, carrying, and discharging firearms in a machine gun. Wow, doesn't surprise me. And possession of such firearms in furtherance of a crime of violence resulting in death. So that's going to be the predicate, a backup, a lesser. It's going to be a backup charge to the predicate offense of the one I just read. Interstate facilities to commit murder for hire. And this is also the predicate backup predicate offense. So that's the one they have to prove. They have to prove them both, obviously beyond a reasonable doubt. But those are your two predicate offenses to get it in for. You've got to have the interstate commerce uh, route as a way in for a federal case, and then uh, obviously, if I don't know, they may have a stabbing. I don't know. They may have one that says possession of a weapon, just a weapon, not a machine gun or firearm or whatever. The machine gun, I'd be surprised. I'd like to actually see the statute. That'd be kind of interesting because usually that's under 18 USC 922, I think, for National Firearms Act. You can't transport a machine gun across state lines, even registered. Those are the only registered federal stuff. It's for tax stamps. You have to pay $200 tax stamp, and they don't make them anymore. So everything that you've got is prior to 1984. I think it's May. I think it's May of 84. Thanks, Reagan. Appreciate it. And so those offenses are all under the National Firearms Act. They're all basically a tax statute. That's all it is. But you just didn't get the tax stamp, so there's your 10-year prison sentence. Um, you know, $200 it's been the same fee since 1934. So I mean, in 34, that would be like several grand. Nobody would get them. So they just do what Bonnie and Clyde did, and they just go to a National Guard armory and break in and steal BAR machine guns. So it's a worthless statute in and of itself. It doesn't generate any real income. But so that's what that is. I've never. Usually, it's not possession of a machine gun. It's possession of a prohibited item, and an NFA failure to register it, failure to get your background check done, and all that. So I don't know. Maybe they have one. It's just kind of weird. It would just be for a machine gun. That's kind of weird. I mean, it says discharging firearms. It doesn't say discharging a machine gun and a machine gun and possession of firearms. Or those firearms in furtherance of a crime. Okay, fine. Because you got to have something that proves how they died. So you can't just have the conspiracy for murder of hire. You got to have something that is a predicate offense. So that would be what they would use to prove the first that, hey, you hired them, you sent them, maybe you conspired with them, whichever. And then you had these weapons and you used them. I don't know that they're going to be able to land that on him. Maybe his cohorts, whoever did it, is obviously going to get nailed. My guess is they'll do another supersedis indictment. He's going to get nailed, though, on this first one if they can prove their case. The indictment adds 2 felony charges against Banks, who was previously was charged via criminal complaint in the case. The four-count supersedes indictment returned late Thursday adds Banks as lead defendant to the previous indictment returned back in October, charging the following defendants in connection with the murder. Here's more. Kavon Grant, 20A. I'm not even going to go with their stupid pseudonyms. DeAndre Wilson, 33. Keith Jones, what a good name, Flocka. He's 33 too. David Brian Lindsay. That's a weird name. I thought that said Ass Houston. I swear it did. Asa Houston. He's 36. Banks was arrested October 17th near Miami International Airport after law enforcement, I'm guessing U.S. Marshals, learned that Banks had been. Please don't try to run from the Marshals. I don't know why criminals do this. They always get their dude. Always. That's how they roll. Just don't run. You're going to get caught. And you're probably just going to waste money and get more charges. Banks have been booked on multiple international flights. Interesting. Let's don't take a freaking charter private. No, I'm a millionaire. I'm not going to take a private charter. I'm going to try to go commercial. Okay. Well, that's why he's in custody. He's not the brightest or sharpest tool in the shed. He might be good at making money, or a rap artist or whatever, but he's clearly not a. He's clearly not a Don Corleone in pleading or planning a murder. So, a federal magistrate judge in Miami has ordered him jailed. That's just to start with. He's in Miami. He's being held on that federal warrant out of California. So, he ain't going nowhere. He's cooling his jets. He's been held without bond until transferred to LA for arraignment. His first appearance will be a first appearance arraignment in federal court when he gets there. Diesel Express could take him wherever. I mean, who knows? My guess is he'll go straight there. But, they may stop along the way. I don't know. My guess is the marshals will take Con Air. That's it. They'll take Con Air. They're jets that are just white. They don't have markings on them. And they'll take a jet to LA, and you'll see the judge the next day or that day. Kind of like they did with Joran Vandersloot. He had something similar where they picked him up, and within the next 24 hours, he was in front of a magistrate being held in Shelby County jail, which is the federal holding unit for Birmingham, Alabama. All six defendants. If I can get this to highlight, that'd be great. All six defendants, none of whom has entered a plea to charges, are expected to be arraigned in the next couple of weeks. According to superseding indictment 2010, that's a long time ago. Banks. I wonder if they're going to do a RICO. No, if they're smart, they'll stay way away from that shit. Banks formed an organization called Only Family, OTF, which, among other things, produced and sold hip hop music. So again, we're back to the, oh my God, we're back to the young slime organization type theory that a rap music. I mean, I don't know. I guess Suge Knight's music label was also deemed that way when he got put away. When it really was just him doing it. So I don't know why they're. I don't know why they're punishing the artist or the actual label for what the actions of one or two or even five in it. It doesn't mean the organization's corrupt. Remember, in a RICO case, you got to prove that you have an organization and that it's corrupt. That's the two. You got to have that. Otherwise, it's not RICO. Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act. Okay. Just think of it. You got to prove there's a mafia. It has to have a structure. You got to have organization. And it's got to be corrupt. All right. So, there's a hip hop music label, mostly for artists from Chicago. Also acted in an association, in fact, of individuals who engaged in violence, including murder and assault, at his direction. And to maintain them, I'm surprised I haven't done it as a RICO. I'm kind of actually surprised. But again, it's easier to take these and cut them up into chunks than doing a RICO case. It was used against the U.S. La Cosa Nostra because it was unique. It was a unique structure. And that was how That was the easiest way to take that down. You couldn't split that up. It just wasn't. It was set up good. I mean, they did a good job. I mean, it until the '70s when Rico came along, there was no way to freaking nail John Gotti for the actions of Sammy Gravano. There was no way. I mean, we might be able to get him in conspiracy with his underlings to do a hit, but that's it. So that was the point of it. Um, anyway, let's continue. Uh, Banks feuded with a victim, identified in court records as TB, tuberculosis. The feud stemmed from a November 6, 2020 murder in which the associate of TB shot and killed an OTF rapper named Devon Bennett. Oh, Lord. Bennett and Banks were close friends. In response to Bennett's murder, Banks allegedly put a bounty on TB's life. August the 19th, 2022, several OTF members, here we go, used two vehicles, and one of them, I think we're going to see a video of it here in a little bit. It looks like a 2020 or something F30 BMW. Uh, I think it's going to be either an M340 or an M340 CSL, if I'm not mistaken. It's got a carbon fiber roof. The car's white. It's so unique. It's either got a carbon fiber roof, which you can get if you get the racing model. I think it's got a carbon fiber hood and trunk as well to cut weight. It's meant for racing. That's why. But they do sell it. And why? Why in the hell would you drive a car that unique? Why? That's dumb. They didn't sell that many. They're expensive. Damn, I mean, these people are. I'm telling you, these murderers are dumb. They're dumb. So, August the 19th, 2022. Speaking of which, this is how serial killers get away with it because they have no connection to the victim. Even if their car is unique, uh, usually it's not. It's usually something that blends in. They have no connection. So, there's no way to connect A and B. You can't connect if you don't have someone to connect because most murders are done by those that they know. So this guy knew this guy, so you can at least show a correlation. Serial killers, no, they just random people, horrifically. Several OTF members and associates used two vehicles and worked in tandem to track, stalk, and attempt to murder TB. They said they got his, I guess his homeboy, or his cousin. I think it was his cousin. For hours, culminating in a shooting at a gasoline station located near Beverly Center Shopping Mall. They used multiple guns, including a machine gun. Guarantee it was a Glock with the damn. Um, uh, I'm still having fog brain from being sick. I still sound stuffed up because I am. Switch, Glock switch. Um, it goes onto the back of the slide for the butt plate for the striker assembly, which is what actually hits the cartridge inside the slide and the firearm. It sticks out like a little square and it has a switch. It's dangerous as hell. It works, but it's dangerous because you're literally trying to make a gun not designed for machine gun use turn into that. Not good. Inevitably, one of them is going to fire out a battery and blow up in their hand, but that's what they get. Because you can get a Glock 18 if you're in law enforcement or the government. That's a full auto 9mm Glock 19, but I think it's an 18. It's a machine gun. I think it fires like 1,200 rounds a minute, so there's no telling what these fire. And the higher the rate, they're not going to control it, so it wouldn't surprise me they missed the target. They fired at least 18 rounds. And 32 round magazine. This sounds about right. 18 rounds at TB's vehicle, striking and killing a victim identified in court documents as SR, family member. That was his cousin who'd been traveling with TB. Banks allegedly ordered TB's murder, and the hitmen used money from Banks and OTF related finances. Here we go, corrupt organization, to carry out the hit. Don't book no flights under no names involved with me. Apparently, he said. Again, dumb. Dumb. DUMM. Dumb. God, we're so dumb. Just don't do it. They're just not. They're just not good enough. They're not smart enough. Mr. Banks is charged with orchestrating a cold-blooded murder resulting in the death of a rival's family member, said U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada. Not only that, the shooting occurred in the open at a gas station. What they always do. It's rare that it's in private. I mean, come on. Anyway, violent crime is sort of blah blah blah. The apprehension of Mr. Banks as he attempted to leave the U.S. is once again proof that the FBI and their extraordinary partners at the LAPD have a long reach. No, the U.S. Marshals picked him up. It wasn't the FBI, it was the Marshals. This is stupid. I would be shocked if the FBI did it. It's just not who goes after people, usually. Or they'll pick them up from the Marshals. The Marshals will catch them and then take them from the Marshals and parade them around like a trophy. Oh, look who we caught. No, you didn't. No, someone else did. Why don't you just quit trying to fake it? I hate the FBI. Cases like these that span multiple states and jurisdictions are complicated. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. I'm appreciative. That's great. The other 5 defendants are in federal custody in Illinois after their initial court appearances in Chicago. They remain charged with 1 count of conspiracy, 1 count of use of interstate facilities. It's got to be an airport. Use interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death. Oh. And 1 count of using, carrying, discharging a machine gun. I guess, firearms in a machine gun, and possession of such firearms and furtherance of a crime resulting in death. These are death penalty eligible offenses. We'll go over that in a minute. Just FYI. So they're all looking at, even if he's not the one there doing it, it's a conspiracy. And a conspiracy, if, oh God, because I don't want YouTube to hear me and then cut the video. If a man and a woman, there was a Georgia case a long time ago of a man and a woman who conspired, and his fantasy was to kidnap a woman, brutalize her, and then unalive her. And she helped. It was conspiracy. And the Georgia offense, I'm almost positive it's not changed. It wasn't last time I looked at it a few years back, but for brutalizing a woman, only a woman, it's a death sentence or life. And then the Supreme Court, since that law went into effect, when I was a kid, I can remember distinctly in Georgia, you would see it. Somebody being put to death for that. That would be one of the charges. I can't remember when, but the Supreme Court made a ruling that the punishment must fit the crime. I don't know what kind of logic that is, because I don't know about you. I don't know of anything else more deservable for that offense than that, other than murder. And that's the way the statute was written in Georgia. It contained, I think it's in, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like whatever their title is, and then it's like -11, something like that, which describes those charges. Anyway, brutalizing anyone in that way, I think, it's my opinion, it should be an eligible offense. But these are eligible. But oh yeah, I got derailed there. The case I was just telling you about. So she conspired with him, and they did it. I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 women, but they did it, and they got caught. She got charged with the same offense, and she got the same sentence as him. So even though women can't commit the actual act, they can get the same punishment under conspiracy. So that's what, even though he conspired and he didn't do it, he's still death penalty eligible because it is conspiracy. They're in, all right, the 5 are in custody after their appearances in Chicago. I've already gone over that. Jones faces additional count of possession of a machine gun in violation of the National Firearms Act. But it may be even a violation of the 68 Gun Control Act. But if I'm not mistaken, that's also under 18 U.S.C. 922. It's kind of like your gun statute. Just look it up. I'm not going to go into it. It's too long. An indictment contains allegation, whatever. If convicted, the defendants, you're going to see that's not a true complete statement. Statutory maximum sentence of life. That's not true. Well, I guess it may be for all, potentially. There might be one dude that's not charged with the, no, no, if they're all charged with that, no, they're all looking at potential death. I don't think that the fruitcakes in California, even in the feds, are going to go for it unless they all get fired on January 20th and are replaced, and you know, then they get uh, then they get new guys in there that say, "This is death penalty. No, forget life. No, this is death penalty." It's possible. We'll go over the statute. I'll show you in a minute. Um, that talks about it. It is eligible. Um, Talks about the rest. Okay, so the rest just talks about. Say, here we go. I knew it was coming. Assistant U.S. Attorneys Yaniello, the Terrorism and Export Crime Section. What the hell is export crime? Man, I am so sick of the federal government in general. Daniel H. Weiner, dude, you really need a better name. The International Narcotics Money Laundering and Racketeering Section. I agree. Probably their best is to not use RICO if they're smart. They'll just stick with it as it's cut up. And Gregory Staples at the Orange County office are prosecuting this case. Okay, so it's in Orange County, California. Yeah, that's a Republican county, so hmm, I'm surprised. And also, I think in 2019, I can't. It's an Alabama case. I cannot remember the name of it. I think Justice Thomas wrote the opinion on it. It's called the. It used to be that if you got charged with an offense on a state court level, let's say possession of a machine gun, the feds couldn't come in and charge you too. You couldn't. They considered it double jeopardy. That's not the case anymore. It's co-equal sovereigns. Was the outcome of the case is what they call it. So you have two co-equal sovereigns. You have a state and you have a federal government, and so each can duplicate those charges. It depends on where you're going to serve. If you get nicked on the state level first and serve time there, usually if you take a plea afterwards, you'll have to serve your state time and then serve your federal time. If you if you take your federal first, at least it used to work this way, federal one first, then state, you can run them concurrent in federal prison, which is not always, but usually a better facility. Just saying. All right, so that's that. Um, let's go into the what they're facing and the charges. Let's see if I can get this to share this tab. Come on. Thank you. All righty. There we go. All right, cool. Got it to work. Hmm, I'm learning every day. Okay. Whether the charges is Lil Durk death penalty eligible depends on the specific statutes under which they're charged and the facts. Here's a breakdown. Use of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, 18 U.S.C. 1958. That's going to be Title 18, Section 1958. This statute provides for the death penalty if murder for hire results in a death. That happened. Number two, death penalty is not mandatory, but is available as a potential sentence if the prosecution chooses to pursue it and meets procedural requirements. The second one, using, carrying, and discharging a firearm. I was close. It's 924. I was close. It's not 922. It's 924. It's going to be NFA. Discharging firearms and machine gun, or it could be 1968 Gun Control Act. And I know there's another one after that, sometime in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Machine gun in furtherance of a crime, violence resulting in a death, 18 U.S.C. 924C and J. If the use of a firearm results in death, the statute allows for death penalty. I would think, I would think he's not going to get convicted of that one. But his dudes he conspired with will. My guess is if he's convicted, it's going to be number one, which is enough. It's bad. It's not good for him. The eligibility depends on the type of crime and whether it's prosecuted as I mean, I don't. It can't get any worse than a murder. Conspiracy alone does not typically result in death penalty eligibility unless it's tied to a capital offense where the death occurred. There we go again. That happened. And the defendant had significant involvement. Well, if it's a conspiracy, of course he had significant involvement. Duh. You don't tell him to go there and shoot at him. Nobody does. Anyway, the prosecutor's decision to seek a death penalty is critical. Federal prosecutors must follow a rigorous process, including review by the DOJ's capital case section to authorize it. That may be who is the one, but that may be who's preventing it, but that doesn't mean that it's not on the table. Okay, that, like I said, the report was wrong. Whether the defendant's actions meet the criteria for aggravating factors outlined in the death penalty statute, such as heinous, cruel, or depraved manner of committing a crime. And man, I am sorry. Man, one of the things that has happened to me since I got sick is I cannot stop hearing this high-pitched noise. And so if I'm sorry if I have to pause and refix my earphones and stuff. It's nonstop. Sounds like a horrible reverb off of an old radio. I mean, it's just constant. And at times it messes, it just completely discombobulates me. So I apologize. I hope it's not permanent, but it's been doing it for, I don't know, 4 weeks. So probably is. Key factors. Prosecutor's decision and seek death penalty is critical. We know about that. Whether the defendant's actions meet the criteria of aggravating factors outlined in the death penalty statute, such as heinous, cruel, depraved manner, committed a crime. Next steps. If they seek it, they must do a notice. This is regardless. They must do a notice of intent to seek death penalty with the court. That still could come after his arraignment. That's not precluded. The decision to seek death penalty may depend on additional evidence, nature of the crime, and consultation with victims' families. So that is what we have for his ass. He is in trouble. I am guessing he's going to probably get convicted. I just have a feeling, maybe not, but it's starting to sound like they may have put this together pretty well. A lot better than Fannie Fatterson down there in Atlanta, that dummy. Even if those guys in Atlanta did it, the way they prosecuted the case was so abhorrently evil and wrong. I'm glad that it turned out the way it did. I hate that they took pleas, though. I did not think that was a good idea. But I get it because I'm not in jail. They are. I've had many clients that take pleas on stuff. They're like, man, I didn't do it. Wait, then don't take the plea. No, I want to go home. If I take a plea right now, I'll be home in 1.5 years. If I don't, I'll sit 1.5 years just to go to trial. It sucks. That's the reality of law. That is what you do on a daily basis. It sucks. I hate it. I hate that I have to be that person. Let's watch along with some Law and Crime here. Shout out to Law and Crime. And let's hear about the case. See what they say. I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit. Yeah, it's on 1.5. If it's too fast, I'll slow it down.
California, and a plea entered in court. There have been some major updates in the murder for hire case against Grammy Award-winning rapper Lil Durk as he postpones the release of his latest album to deal with court proceedings. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Durk Banks, known worldwide as Lil Durk, has officially been extradited to Southern California and has entered a not guilty plea to murder for hire charges. A grand jury indicted the rapper on felony counts for allegedly plotting to kill a rival rapper, but instead, it ended up with the death of that man's cousin. Now, when charges were first announced against Banks and alleged co-conspirators, and we covered this here on Sidebar, we didn't see Banks named in the same case as the defendants. He wasn't listed among the defendants in the case. But now we have a superseding indictment, and his name is at the top, followed by Pavon Grant, DeAndre Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and Asa Houston. All the men are charged with conspiracy and use of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, as well as gun charges. And prosecutors claim the 32-year-old Chicago rap collective is actually a criminal enterprise. The superseding indictment states in or around 2010, defendant Durk Banks, also known as Lil Durk, aka Blood, aka Mustafa Abdul Malik, formed an organization called Only the Family, or OTF, which, among other things, produced and sold hip-hop music from artists primarily from the Chicago, Illinois area. OTF also acted as an association, in fact, of individuals who engaged in violence, including murder and assault, at the direction of defendant Banks and to maintain their status in OTF. Now, prosecutors allege that Banks had used OTF to really target this rival rapper from Georgia, known as Quando Rondo, real name Tyquan Bowman. He's referred to in the indictment as TB. Got to give you a little bit of a history on this and how.
Where in the hell did they get these names? Like, seriously, do they just put a bunch of syllables together and call it, or vowels and consonants together and just come up with something? I don't get it.
Prosecutors say all this happened. So Banks and Bowman, they were part of an apparent altercation at this Atlanta nightclub in 2020. And that altercation led to Durk's friend, King Von, another rapper, being shot and killed. And Atlanta police say that one of Quando Rondo's associates, Timothy Leaks, he was the one who actually shot Von, although that case blew apart. But Banks allegedly believed that Rondo was really at the center of this confrontation. By the way, we've been trying to cover updates for you in this Lil Durk case, and I got to call out one of our sponsors, Upside, because with their support, it helps us to continue to do this. Now, if you don't know what Upside is, it's awesome. It is a free app, so easy to use, that helps. So to find out how much you can earn, you can click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen. And make sure to use our promo code SIDEBAR because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Hope you can check it out. So according to authorities, Banks made it known through coded language that he would pay a bounty to anyone who killed Quando Rondo. But now you fast forward to 2022, and OTF associates allegedly learned that Quando Rondo is going to be traveling to Los Angeles. According to the indictment, Kevon Grant, allegedly a top lieutenant in this criminal enterprise, helped get several people together, flying them to Southern California, getting them set up in hotel rooms, finding...
So he did all this. Jesus. They do. God, he does all this, gets all this organized, gets these guys out there, spending all this money planning it, and they kill the wrong guy. Definitely not a La Cosa Nostra hit. At least they kill their dude. At least they get their guy, usually. I mean, there are those that, but you had to answer for it. I mean, they usually frowned upon that. You can't just go like with gang members and just obliterate a family. It says, I'm not making excuses. It's just a reality. These guys suck. It's horrible.
Weapons and cars for them to use in this apparent assassination attempt. And investigators say that this trip to LA was funded by either OTF or Mr. Banks directly. But to be clear, prosecutors are saying Banks didn't want any part of the planning to be connected to him because he reportedly texted one of his alleged co-conspirators, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." Now, authorities believe that Banks also flew to Southern California via private jet at this time. Now, the indictment accuses the defendants of following Quando Rondo's black Escalade around LA back in August of 2022. But here's the thing. Traffic camera photos show a white Infiniti seemingly following this SUV until it pulls into a gas station. The Infiniti is then parked behind the gas station in an alley. The indictment reads, on August 19th, 2022, at the Beverly gas station, defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 used the firearms procured by defendant Grant, including the fully automatic firearm, to shoot at TB's car, striking and killing SR. This is TB's cousin, Savai Robinson, who was standing next to TB's car while TB...
See, those are the predicate offenses, overt acts. Or, let me rephrase that. You have the predicate offense of the actual conspiracy. Then you have the overt act, which is this. So they've got that, and they have the overt act charged as well with them for the possession of the firearm and machine gun. So you have to have, it's not just the one. I mean, you have to have, for a conspiracy, you've got to be 2 or more people and then have to take an overt act in furtherance. So if you don't have the overt act in furtherance, you don't have a conspiracy. You can abandon the conspiracy, like if you do it to rob a bank and then, I don't know, day before you go to the police, say, "Oh, this is horrible. I shouldn't have done it. I'm so sorry." But, Joe Bob down the street, he's got everything. He's going to rob it tomorrow at 9 a.m. Not all states, it seems to be dying out, but that used to be a standard in criminal law in the United States. You could abandon it.
Was inside. The images below show defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 firing their guns at TB's black Escalade. And this filing also includes surveillance photos of the suspects, or potentially the suspects, appearing to fire guns towards those gas pumps. Quando Rondo, again known as TB in the indictment, who was the alleged target of this murder-for-hire plot, wasn't hurt. But according to investigators, he was actually inside the gas station when the shooting happened. But his cousin, SR, Savai Robinson, was standing next to the SUV and was killed. Banks, though, is not accused of being present when that shooting happened, but more was kind of this figure overseeing it and funded it. But investigators do say also that he tried to profit off of this incident, this shooting, because in the superseding indictment, it states, following the attempted murder of TB and the murder of SR, defendant Banks sought to commercialize SR's death by rapping about his revenge on TB with music that explicitly referenced audio from a news clip taken shortly after SR's murder, where TB screamed, "No, no," after seeing SR's dead body. Told me they got an Addy, got location, go, go, green light, go, go, go. Look on the news and see your son, you screaming, "No, no." And according to investigators, when word started circulating that Banks' alleged co-conspirators were going to be arrested in connection with the shooting, Banks allegedly tried to flee the country. An affidavit filed in support of the indictment reads, the FBI received notifications from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, showing that Banks had been booked as a passenger on 2 international flights, a one-way flight from Miami to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, connecting through Doha, Qatar, scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th, and a one-way flight from Fort Lauderdale to Switzerland, connecting via New Jersey, also scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th. Banks did not board either flight. And I believe that there was also another flight about going to Italy as well, but obviously he didn't jump on any of those flights. He was arrested. And he was booked into the Howard County Jail in Florida. He was extradited back to California. He was moving cross country, appeared in this federal courtroom in Los Angeles last week for his arraignment. He entered a not guilty plea. And by the way, his trial is set to start soon. It's scheduled right now for January 7th, 2025. There's going to be several pretrial hearings in November and December, but that is really, really fast. I don't know if that trial date's going to stay, but one of those hearings in December is going to be about the possibility of bond. But for right now, he remains behind bars. And I should tell you, if he's convicted, or if they are convicted, all the defendants.
And just so you know, they are not going to trial. It's been rescheduled, I think, to October of 25.
Face a maximum of life in federal prison. And we've just learned that Banks has reportedly secured the legal services of Drew Findling, who is a prominent Atlanta lawyer who represented rappers like Lil Baby in the past. By the way, Lil Durk's Deep Thoughts album, it was supposed to be released later this month, but that's now being pushed back to at least the end of January. I want to bring back in friend of the show, Detective Eric Barnes, to talk more about this. So, Detective Barnes, you can see how investigators move their way through this case, gathering.
Man, he must be retired because I ain't never seen no detective with long hair. Heck no. You know. Anyway, I know that. Great. I don't even know if you heard me. I know that the case has been bumped. It's recent. It'll be October before they allegedly have a trial. I don't even think it's going to happen then, but I mean, that's 10 months. Well, 9-10 months from now. So it could. I doubt it. It's a federal case. Man, it's not that easy. And I don't know why he's hired an Atlanta lawyer, a lawyer out of Atlanta, who I guarantee you doesn't have a California license. So that means he's going to have to do what's called pro hac vice. And I do that too in another southern state. Besides, I'm only licensed in actual practice of law in Alabama, meaning I cannot just go in Mississippi, Tennessee, or something like that and just start practicing, which is stupid. You should be able to. I mean, it's all common law. The only state that's bizarre and weird that I don't think you should be able to unless you go to school for it is Louisiana, because they still use French civil law, Napoleonic code. So anyway, just so you know, not all lawyers, you can't just, it's not like a doctor, you can't just go get a license somewhere else. You can, in some circumstances, you can do what's called motioning in without an exam. They make it so hard, it's stupid, but I'm guessing this lawyer is going to pro hack. That means they got to find local counsel that has a federal license. It's not hard to get. You can get a federal license for $200. And I have to get it's just like the Supreme Court. I believe it's that. I think it's like $199 plus 2 signatures from 2 people that are licensed in federal court. It's not hard. So anyway, so when you hear that, just remember you can't just go practice law. You've got to have someone local to be local counsel. And even then, and the federal courts may have a different view on it. They may allow him to be just as active as the local attorney, but the local attorney's got to participate. He's still got to be the head of the case. He's still got to be involved. You can't just get him and then dump him off for a low fee and then bring in, Shapiro or Johnny Cochran, which would be a miracle since he's dead. But that's my point. It's just, that's how it's set up. So it's pro hac vice.
Evidence, piecing together the parts of this puzzle. Look, these are all allegations at this point, but what are your initial takes on this investigation?
It seems in this investigation that the detectives were very meticulous with collecting their information. They didn't get in any rush to go out and make an arrest. Obviously, anytime that you're making a high-profile arrest or dealing with a high-profile investigation, the last thing you want to do is prematurely go and arrest someone of the caliber of Lil Durk, because you know you're going to be on the front page of the newspaper, and it's either going to give you positive exposure to your case or it's going to expose your investigation.
Yeah,
what do you think is the strongest evidence right now tying back to him?
The strongest evidence that I could see in reading through the indictment is that, his organization, OTF, Only the Family,
is that a
his credit cards were used by members of this organization to purchase and kind of coordinate the movement that was needed to make the murder happen.
Do you think there's an argument when he sends that text message, like, don't book any flights under my name? I've talked about this on previous sidebars, but could he be saying, I don't want any part of this. Don't put me on any of this. You do whatever you think you need to do. Keep me out of it. Maybe, but then you look at the allegations that he was profiting off of the killing afterwards. That would be maybe a tough sell to say he didn't either know what was going on or didn't have a part in it, right?
I think so. Another question I think you also have to ask is, if you knew that this situation was going to take place, do you have an obligation to report it to authorities? Obviously within this culture, snitching is something that's looked down on. But if someone's going to use one of my credit cards to go and commit murder, I may not call the police, but I'm definitely going to call the credit card company and block any charge.
Oh, damn, that thing won't. Oh, it's so aggravating. I hate YouTube when it does that. I hit the button, won't pause. All right, a little bit of use there about duty. do you have a duty to report? Not usually. Normally, you do not have a duty to report an offense. It sounds horrible, but it's about whether or not you have that duty, whether you have the duty under law, or even civilly. I might be going down the street and somebody just boom, keel over and start seizing and heart stops. I don't owe them a duty. I do as far as a human being, that you're a piece of shit if you let somebody die. I mean, that's just my opinion. But there's no recourse. There's no duty at law for the most part. There's never been a duty under that. So you don't have that duty. You just don't. I mean, I don't have to call and tell people stuff unless I'm involved. And I'm trying to abandon it. Then, yeah, you better get your butt in gear. But not normally, there's just not a duty. It's never been let me rephrase that. There's not a duty except unless you have any involvement with the person. For instance, it's your wife, it's your child, it's your parent, someone like that, even a first cousin. You have a familial obligation at that point, and we don't want our parents dying and the kid just sitting there going, "Sucks to be you." I mean, happens, but we try to punish them for doing that. That's where the duty starts to attach. But even then, it's a little bit. But anyway, for a stranger, no, don't have a duty. So I don't know. That's not a very good argument. And I did not mean for this video to go this long. We're gonna wrap it up here in a minute.
That are coming up.
He can maybe say, I didn't know they were going to do that. Let me ask you this. With murder for hire cases, I've always been fascinated by this. Don't you feel it's a little ironic? The goal, of course, would be, if you take the allegations as true in this case or other cases, is the mastermind behind it doesn't want anything leaking back to him. But sometimes in these cases, there is the biggest evidence trail of all. Paper trail, digital trail, messages, financial trail, right? Don't you see that? I mean, that's, again, you might say there's not a lot of evidence.
That's a good point. There's always a trail. This day and time, there's always a trail. Unless you do everything in person, everything in cash. Even then, there's probably a camera trail. Someone's probably gotten your car or the car you've got or whatever using and took a photo of the license plate. They have those scanners all over the interstates now, which is spooky that you can't be anonymous in any way. It's just, there's a trail. Like I said, unless you're a serial killer and you don't know the person and you just blend in and you're just another guy, no one's going to look at your car and go, "Oh, okay, that's the suspect's car. We know he was there." No, they don't know it's your car. These idiots, they know it's his car or their car won. I mean, it's just, oh man. I'm hoping they show the cars, a shot of the video, because it's insane.
Against Mr. Banks here, but there's at least something to warrant charges.
I believe that just the distance from Chicago to where they went in California was the biggest obstacle for them, because the only way for them to be able to travel and make this murder happen, they had to make arrangements. And you can't walk into an airport and pay cash for a plane ticket. You have to use electronic means to be able to get on a plane and rent cars. So they definitely left a paper trail on this date. I think was the quote unquote smoking gun.
There's a part in the indictment when they talk about co-conspirators either known or unknown. Does that mean that investigators are still looking at other people who might be connected to this?
Or
I believe that also when you talk about known or unknown, it alludes to the fact that there are other individuals out there that do have knowledge of this and maybe aren't fully ready to cooperate at this point.
What would lead them to cooperate?
There's a lot of different things that can cause somebody to cooperate. It could be maybe at this.
It's called free. I'm going to be free. I'm not getting indicted. Or I'm indicted, but I'm not being charged. That's what causes them. It's real simple. Do you want to walk? Oh, yeah, I would love to go home and see my mommy and daddy. Oh, yeah, I would love it. Okay, well, then you get to testify. That's it. That's immunity in a nutshell. It's kind of like, what was his name? Kenneth Copeland, Lil Woody. That dude had immunity. He had to testify. I still have an issue with it because on a state level, you don't get federal immunity. So you come back to the dual sovereigns problem again. If that guy admits, I did all these crimes, holy shit, you're talking about shit with a machine gun. I mean, you're talking about, what if they had a short barrel rifle? Another $200 tax stamp you got to have. Short barrel shotgun, same thing. Can't cut a barrel down. It has to be 18 inches or 18 and a half, I think. Rifle 16. So you've got all these things in flux. Oh, well, you've got to testify. You're covered. You're immune. No, you're not. You're not immune. You still got federal shit hanging over you. So unless the U.S. attorney gave him immunity too, I don't think the guy should have been compelled to testify. I just don't. You should be able to assert your Fifth Amendment right. Be that as it may.
Point in time, they just don't feel comfortable. They could be working through other charges on themselves, that they may be currently charged with different court cases. Also there's a lot of back and forth now because you have individuals that were part of an organization that ultimately chose to turn against other members of the organization. So it's causing
I was going to ask you that because can I read you something?
Yes.
Something from the indictment? One of the overt acts. So in order to prove this kind of conspiracy, it's not just a criminal agreement. You need overt act steps that are taken. This is overt act number 25. On August 19th, 2022, defendants Grant, Wilson, Jones, Lindsay, and Houston, and co-conspirator 2, so this person's not named, traveled to a hamburger restaurant in Los Angeles County where the co-conspirators discussed, among other things, payments to defendants Jones and Lindsay for the shooting earlier that day. The only way, correct me if I'm wrong, the only way authorities...
These guys are dumb. All right. My guess, look, there's no way they would know what they spoke about unless someone's talked. So I'm guessing someone's already spoke. Either they may not have immunity, but instead of a death penalty, they might just get a life sentence, and that might be their agreement, which is probably a good one to go after. What bothers me is when you have a shooter who gets that agreement because he flips on the other guys who didn't do the actual dirty deed. That bothers me a lot. That guy should not get the deal. But a lot of the times they'll get it, or they may say, you know what, you're immune. We'll give you immunity. You weren't directly involved, but you know what, you were there. You heard it. Tell us, testify, and we'll give you immunity. In that case, again, we have the co-sovereigns issue. California could come right back through the back door and say, we're going to indict him for conspiracy to commit murder. And then, under penal code 187, you're done. I mean, you've admitted everything on open record or open court on the record. So again, I don't like that. If they're going to do it, they need to do it from both because the standard has changed. It used to be believed that you could not do both. It wasn't done. Now it is. I think if I remember correctly, it's an Alabama case, the one I'm thinking of. You have to look at it. It's 2019. Justice Thomas wrote the opinion. If I find it, we'll go over it, but not this time because I'm almost 25 minutes over.
Can know that information is because of co-conspirator 2, right? That person has to be cooperating. Otherwise, if this isn't, they're talking about it, how else would they know they talked about it?
Right. There has to be some kind of corroborating information that can prove up both sides of that conversation that they allege took place.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the part that makes me feel like you might have some cooperating witnesses, which could be, quite problematic for the defendants in this case. Talk to me about the attack.
So you may have moms there pumping gas.
Here we go.
You may have day laborers that are there stopping to make a break at a bathroom. And the first thing you think as a civilian when you hear gunshots is you're concerned for your own safety. So in terms of being able to get details of where the shots came from, what your suspect looked like, license plate number.
Look, oh, for crying out loud. Fucking this one. Okay, they might have actually had a lot of those in California. That's possible. They could argue that. This car, morons rented or somehow got a damn. I'm positive that's an M340i with a CSL package. I am positive. And they got the wrong. They got the wrong car. That's not the. What the hell is this? I just noticed that. Oh, okay. I'm like, wait a minute. This car and this car, these ain't the same. That's two different cars. That's a freaking Infiniti. They're both white. This is the BMW. That's a carbon fiber roof. That's why it's black, unless it's a wrap, which I don't think so. It looks like a CSL, which means also the hood and trunk are carbon fiber. It is a unique car. It's literally like driving a pink Lamborghini. It's stupid. So I don't know where this BMW. Okay, they're saying it's all the way in the back. I'm guessing. I don't know where this. I'm guessing this is the guy they were going after. Where my mouse is, or is my mouse showing up? Hell no. Oh, for Pete's sake. So anyway, I'm pointing over here at the um the black Cadillac in the front with the blue line around it circled, and then to the left, that's the BMW. It looks like it's referencing a car. If you go straight back, there's an arrow. You'll see several cars back. In the very back is where it's supposed to be, and then skip a car in front, and then boom, you've got the Infinity. So I'm not sure who's in what. Point being, regardless, they're all three freaking. I mean, it's not like everybody's got one, even in LA. It's still a unique car. So I don't know why they would pick those. This is this is what they do. This is what criminals do. They don't think. Um, you know, it's had they picked just any BMW 3 Series, hey man, if especially if it's stolen, that's harder to trace. That's really difficult. It provides a very good underlying argument in court. Very good argument that hey, there's a ton of these cars. They don't even know if it's the right one. They don't even have a tag on it. So this is stupid. Um, I'm hoping I'm showing up on here. I'm trying to see. I don't think it's showing up on here. Let's see.
Things of that nature. It's going to be very hard because people are disconnected from that type of
Mouse ain't
activity.
showing up.
I just can't imagine what would have happened if the bullet hit the gas pump. What that could have resulted
Nothing.
in. That is
It
just
would have
really,
freaking
really
no.
frightening to
Okay.
think about.
Oh my god.
I mean, we're talking.
Oh god, people are so done with this. Okay. Not saying do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. What blows stuff up is a spark or flame with gas vapor, not the gasoline itself per se. You can put a cigarette out in a freaking canister of gasoline. That's not going to be what does it. It's the vapor that's so easy to ignite. And a bullet, I mean, it's traveling, past obviously speed of sound. Uh, and yeah, it gets superheated and it's hot. It basically becomes a sterile object after you fired it. So the idea of, oh, we got to dig the bullet out of him, it's going to cause infection. No, it's not. You're going to do a hell of a lot more damage. So usually they'll just leave it in. If it doesn't through on you, you've got a new little body part hanging out with you, a new guest for the rest of your life. It's sterile. It's not like in the Civil War where bullets were fired out of black powder rifles under the speed of sound, went through a dude, picked up all those bacteria and germs, went into another dude, caused gangrene, etc., and then death. It's not the same. So it just annoys me when people don't know that a hole in the gas pump would have done nothing. It would have put a hole in it. I mean, maybe on the hose, and even then they have safety mechanisms so it don't just continue to pour fuel. If you're if you ever done what I did, drive off with the damn gas, fill up the hose in your tank, you'll see that there's a safety mechanism, safety catch, and it'll pop off, and you might have some fuel spray, and that's it. You're done. You're not going to get anything else except you drive it off like my dumb ass with the fucking hose sticking out of your car. That's so dumb. That was embarrassing. Anyway, I'm going off on a side tangent.
Talking about a tragic death of somebody as well. One of the things that is disturbing too, and I hate talking about it, but this is another case of prominent rappers who are caught up in the legal system, who are accused of being part
There's a lot of them.
gangs. We covered the YSL case. From your experience, maybe looking into these kinds of gang affiliated cases, what are some of the hallmarks that you're seeing here? What would you like to know as you're moving through this?
All right. Well, okay, that's it. I'm so sorry. I meant to be done 30 minutes ago. This is way over the limit of what I'm trying to keep in 30 minutes or less. It's really difficult to do so because there's so much to talk about. Not always, but usually. And so, I hope this is. I hope it's been an informative, discussion. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please hit like, subscribe, comment, tell me I'm an idiot, tell me that you love me. I don't care. Just do it so that the algorithm will start putting me in it. I'm not doing this as an income producing activity, which is why I've been off for several weeks because I was sick. I'm not doing this while I'm sick. This sucks. I'm still sick. I still can't hear half the stuff out of my left ear, except for that's it. That's all I hear. It's horrible. You know, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's hearing damage from going to the range. Lord, I don't know. But be careful out there. Try to stay well. Don't. COVID never scared me. It still doesn't. But wash your hands. Don't let people spit on you. Don't get too close to them. Stay away from pneumonia. And God willing, God bless. We'll meet here again to do another video. Okay. All right, guys. Thank y'all. It's Chris of Bama Law signing off. Au revoir.